All right, it looks like some people are joining us, so I think it's time to begin. Everyone, thanks for making it out. My name is Trent. I'm on the MindSumo team, and we're really excited about having some of our friends from Capital One here to do a quick info session for you. And our moderator today is going to be Jason, so I'm going to hand it over to him, and he'll take us from here.
Awesome. Thank you, Trent. Well, hey, everyone. My name is Jason Valentino. I work here at Capital One. I can't see any of you, so I don't know if anyone's making faces at me behind the computer monitor, but I'll learn to deal with that as we go. So I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time, this evening with us. We're going to spend a little bit of time today talking about Cap One's technology journey, some of the technology we use inside the company, and opening it up for questions from all of you. And so during this time, I would recommend that everybody who does have is there anything you'd like to learn, have any questions about Capital One, use the QA feature in Google Hangouts, which is to the left side of your screen. And then as you guys have questions, just feel free to ask away. We'll take little breaks between the introductions and between talks to try to address as many as humanly possible. So with that being said, I have a couple people that are here with us today. So in addition to myself, Jason, we have a developer manager over in one of our flagship areas, Ben Kaufman, and we have one of our TDP associates, Kaylin Gilibatera, who, if you guys can see, is way down there in the lower right-hand corner. And so they're going to be available today to also help a little bit with this. I guess before we get started, I think I should probably talk a little bit about Capital One and Cap One's position as a technical company. Capital One, if you read about us on the internet or check out the wiki article about us, you'll learn about a company that started way back in the 90s and then actually put a lot of technology into everything they did. The founder now, or CEO, really didn't set out to make a bank or make a credit card company. He had a whole bunch of technically really smart people, more IT people than I could think we even have bankers. And then they went out, try to solve a problem, and they solved it through the use of massive data and decisioning algorithms. Since that time, there was a massive amount of growth in the company, and we kind of started looking a little bit more like a bank in the mid-2000s. And we did a lot of things to prepare ourselves for the recession that hit. And after that point, we started realizing that we lost our technical roots a little bit. And so Capital One, since about 2009, has really been on we can call it a renaissance of technology, technologists. It's manifested itself in many different ways. One of the biggest ones, which we'll probably talk about a little bit today, is the existence of our TDP, or technology development programs, our project management development programs, which started right around that time, as well as some key other areas of the company, digital, which Ben Kaufman will be able to talk about a little bit later, and the existence of several labs and startup acquisitions, which we'll get into later. But before I go too far, I think I would like to let the other Cap Oneers have an opportunity to introduce themselves. So Ben, I think if you wouldn't mind, would you mind taking over for a bit? Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do for the company, and maybe a fun fact. Ben, are you there?
Name in there somewhere.
Perfect.
My name is Ben Kaufman. I started with the company about 3.5 years ago. It's been a really great journey. I started actually in the commercial banking, moved over to the labs, and ended up in digital, running the enterprise mobile app for Capital One. Is there anything specific that you'd like me to go into, Jason?
How did you end up here?
Oh, I was recruited by Capital One from the lowly state of Kansas, and I moved out. They gave me a very compelling reason to want to move in terms of the work, and so to Capital One I came.
Excellent. Kaylin, how about yourself? What brought you along?
Hey, yeah, so I'm Kaylin, developer here. I joined a year ago, so I graduated college in May of 2013 from Penn State. I studied computer science and got minors in psychology and engineering leadership. So I was really into human-computer interaction and hackathons. That was kind of what I did in college. All my internships were actually in government work. So I worked on sensors and radios and night vision goggles, and that's really what I thought I would do kind of for the rest of my, well, at least for the start of my career. And that's kind of what I focused on when I interviewed and who I was talking to. But as I went along, I started to get kind of less of an interest in the government work. Some of the things that they wanted me to build were like tanks, et cetera, and I was like, maybe this isn't the area I want to be working in. So I pulled back and thought, what else could I be interested in? And I had never really been into big tech companies. I kind of thought people that went there took like the easy way out, and it was very typical for a computer science person to go to a big tech company. So I wasn't into that. And I figured I wanted to do something that not a lot of other people were working on right now. So to me, that was definitely finance. And I thought it was really cool. I don't really understand money. I don't know what finance is really supposed to do. So when I interviewed with Capital One, they were really interested in how do we make banks better? How do we change this so that people don't find it so scary or intimidating, which I definitely did. So that resonated with me and kind of made me change my opinion of what you do here and what could be possible through development in kind of a banking system. So that's why I came.
That was way more in depth than mine.
I'll give you time to introduce yourself then. Do you guys mind telling us what groups you work for in the company, and maybe not specifics on projects, but the type of technologies you guys work on?
Was that to me?
Either or.
Yeah. So native development, I focus primarily on iOS. We work specifically with iOS, naturally, the mobile apps, and kind of revamping the enterprise app. Some of the general technologies we use in terms of our like continuous integration is Jenkins, GitHub. We're moving to full TDD, so that's we're moving to full TDD, so that's been fun. We're using Calabash and Cucumber there. And then the way we're distributing our app is we're using HockeyKit currently. But I will say the tool that we have thoroughly enjoyed the most is GitHub and bringing that in-house and the social aspect of the coding that offers, and then more specifically the code checks that we can work with the fork pull model that GitHub offers and the ease that it offers.
Yeah, and I'm kind of working on a couple projects. So one of them is an iPad app, and it's kind of focused on recruiting because we have sort of this process where we can't talk to candidates right away. We have to kind of get them to apply online. So the hope is that this fall and definitely next spring we won't deal with that, and it's native to I have some other people that are really good at iOS development working with me because I'm pretty mediocre.
Who's doing design for
Colin.
Colin.
We got a really good designer, so hopefully it's pretty too. So that's one of my side projects. I have another that's probably going to be more of a web app. And then my actual day job is focused around, it's dealing with, it's called your like living money, and I don't know exactly how much I can say, but basically a way of showing how much money you can spend without going over what you would purchase on bills, and it kind of gives you this new way of looking at your money. So it's really cool because it's something that I would like to use. So I'm excited to kind of get it out there and test it. That's with, we've done it in Java. We're doing it probably with Node and Mongo now. So we're testing that out, seeing what we want to run through the cycle, and that's pretty fun.
I think we're going to take some of the back-end tech of that and move it into the...
Yeah.
So it'll be iOS and Android. Yep.
Oh yeah, and then on the side, I do like Android Wear, and I want to make an Android TV app. I just have to figure out what it is that I want to make, but I want to do that too.
It's awesome, and I guess I do work around here too. So in addition to moderating like online forums, I'm the senior manager of a top of R&D team we have in our technology lab up in DC, and I also do a lot with our college hire program. We just finishing up. We're actually tonight. With our summer intern class, who will be saying farewell to as they go back to their normal lives. We'll also host a summit, which we'll talk about a little bit earlier, and kind of help with some of our college branding. Well, very cool. So I haven't seen any questions roll in, but I can just keep asking people things if no one else has any.
Let me jump in here really fast. I found out from some of our viewers that it's the 9 tiles up in the top right of your screen and not a Q&A over on the left. So hit those tiles, and that's where you can get Q&A to open up for you.
Yes, we have Q&A open.
Maybe this one?
Display other questions. But now we lost the sound.
Sorry, so the viewers have a different view, and they're the ones with the 9 tiles, so they'll see that, and our Q&A is over on the left.
Yep, I see it. You hit the
Cool. So yeah, they should definitely have questions coming in soon.
So I can dive in a little further if you want Jason to talk a little more about the fun stuff we have going on. Hello. Talk about the fun stuff we have going on.
Yeah, please.
I'll go back. I mean, in terms of the iOS development, we're testing out currently integrating with our builds the Xcode Beta 5, I think, which just got released on Monday, and kind of enjoying all the different new technologies that the new Xcode is offering in the new SDK or compiler, and with that, like we've definitely seen, and I'm not sure how much a lot of our viewers have worked with. We're definitely having challenges integrating Cucumber and Calabash to work with the new Xcode. We're also seeing like Swift is evolving so much, like from release to release. All right, I'm going to cut off on that and read a question that just came in. Anyways, Swift's changing a lot, especially from beta to beta of Xcode. So we're having a lot of fun with it, but it's also like problem solving from a little bit of research and development while we're doing it. How does yeah, go ahead.
Ziming, I'm going to focus on your question first, the one about Kaplan's business model. So that's a really good that's a good question. And if I start answering in some weird left field that isn't right, just feel free to ask another one to help me clarify. So Cap One is actually a collection of different businesses, right? The biggest, I guess the biggest and probably our oldest line of business being our U.S. card, credit card line of business. And I'm pretty sure most of you have probably seen some of our commercials. I see them once or twice every once in a while. But card is massive for us. And it's aligned as such. We have a separate president from card as we do our retail banking, which is probably our second biggest line of business, from our commercial banking. And then we also have a financial services group and an investments group. Now, from an IT person's perspective, we all fall under the exact same. We have one centralized CIO that we all report up into. And then, I don't know, my coworkers are just kind of moving their screen around a lot. And so Ben, Kaylin, myself, actually everyone that you're meet from Capital One in the IT capacity is going to work for one gentleman. His name is Rob Alexander, who is the company's CIO. I don't know if that was exactly what you were asking, but hopefully that helps set a stage. And then underneath our CIO, we have divisional heads that will represent those different groups, and that's how we will, if someone specifically designs credit card products, those developers will report to that gentleman, or if you're a developer building online products, you'll be kind of spread across all of them. Good question. And we have another question. Jaspreet, MBA student from Michigan with the engineering background. Are there opportunities for MBA graduates? Absolutely. I'm going to leave you with an absolutely right now, and I'm going to talk a little bit later about opportunities for there's opportunities in Capital One, yes, for MBA graduates, also for undergrad graduates, and there's opportunities for internships and some other stuff for lower classmen as well, but we'll get into that. Cool. What kind of majors do you hire for the most? I'm a biology major because biology was my interest, me the most of all. I'm currently teaching myself several programming languages to diversify my skill sets and make me more viable to employees outside of biology. So I actually, we had dinner last night. Sinclair, who you might see in one of these boxes, hosted a event for a recent Java boot camp we did, and one of the students actually was an English major. Who's just an excellent technologist. And right now I can only really speak to the technology program because I'm just kind of uneducated when it comes to all our different development programs, and we do have them in various areas of the business. But we hire people who are good at technology, who love it. That a lot of times manifests itself into CS majors. It doesn't always manifest itself in a CS major. It could be anybody. If you're good, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, Jason, I can chime in there a little bit too. There is definitely, especially when hiring for my team, it's just about being good at the respective technology skill set. The majors do not play a role.
Great. Ben, this might be a good question for you too. The one from Kyle Nicholson. Are there any specific skills that we are looking for in graduates in terms of coding languages? Looks like they're in computer engineering. Oh, a Penn State shout out. So, Kaylin might be a good person to talk to there.
In terms of languages, especially when you're a college hire, I think Capital One is extremely flexible, and they have this wonderful program that I really wish I would have got to be a part of. And I won't speak too much because Kaylin's directly been in it, but it's called the TDP program. And basically they just look for very talented intellectual individuals, and they rotate them throughout the company, and they kind of let the individual find and the company find where the perfect fit is for that person, and then that person goes on to that role.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I was intimidated about when I started my role was my internships were mostly C and C++, and we studied Java, but you don't necessarily get into all the enterprise tools that you might use, and I was a little bit like, they're going to expect me to know everything right off the bat, like where does my skill set fall? And it took me a couple of weeks to kind of like look around and be like, hey, do you guys know everything about all these build tools? And somebody was like, no, I have no clue. And they actually we did a ton of training together, and they walked through pretty much everything that college doesn't teach you, because college is awesome at teaching you how to learn to code and how to program and stuff, but not so much the whole environment and the whole set. And Capital One's all about like getting you up in those areas and learning how it integrates with the larger Capital One infrastructure.
And I tell you, it'd be really hard to say, here's the one skill set that we're going to be hiring for, because we're not a one language company, right? We don't make people march in the door and say, C++ is all you're ever going to do here. Like, go sit in that cube and you're going to get stamped on the back of your head, get to work. Like, we're a really open culture. We have a lot of really fun technologies here. So, and we bring people into the technology development program. We try very hard just to find talented people who we can teach in all sorts of directions. And if you meet that bar, there's no telling what you're going to work on. You could come in with a C background, and then next thing you know, you're doing Java, you're doing Node, you're doing Python. Really, no promises. We can't tell you. And we couldn't even tell you what we're going to be working on next year. We sat in the presentations for our interns who were just showing off what they did the last 2 months for us today, and people were like, I built this in Swift. Like, that came out while they were still interns and still developed a product. Probably a little buggy, but a good product nonetheless. Great. Eugene, hi. What sort of R&D work does Capital One work on? As a financial institution, what sort of R&D is applicable? What products-driven team members open to work on projects as they please? It depends. So I'm, again, taking this from a technology perspective, but we can kind of speak to a lot of our product drivers, which are within our business. We have various product teams throughout the lines of business at Capital One. Their real job is to think about what's next for our customers. Like, how do we push banking forward? How do we push technology forward? And how do we make this a much better experience for everyone that interacts with Capital One on a daily basis? So sometimes when we say R&D, we mean product. Which directly comes down to the development that a lot of us, actually the three of us, end up doing in pretty cutting-edge teams. When I say it in terms of what I do, a lot of it ends up being, how do we explore big data more? What new technologies are just emerging in Silicon Valley that we could probably leverage as a company? How do we do things differently? How do we mimic the successful giants in the industry and use their techniques, technologies, and get those employed in Capital One? So R&D is a really vague statement, but I hope that kind of helped.
Dude, how about there's a Penn State, and that's a great question. That might be a great question for Sinclair, asking about how early or when can they start applying for summer internships?
Are people from other schools here? Or is this like a Penn State event, which is awesome, not opposed?
So I don't know if...
I think you're on mute.
Yeah, I think Sinclair's maybe in a busy area, but so if you go to... Where is my link? I believe it's capitalone.com/careers or careers.capitalone.com. There is an internship section. We haven't started taking resumes yet for the upcoming 2015 summer semester, but if you go to that site and the next time Ben or Kaylin gets on like a real long rant, I'll go look it up and come back. And let me take a note of myself, and I'll get that information for you by the end of the call.
Yeah, there's jobs@capitalone.com, which brings you to a really nice website. But I think they're probably looking for something more specific in terms of a link for the internship. At least,
there it is. Campus careers.
Yeah, for careers.
Oh, Capital One - campus.
Yeah.
And I can probably we can talk about that for a second too. What's available? So we actually have a few different programs that are pretty useful to track if you're in the college stages of your life career. Mainly, we have a college hire program where we take seniors and MBA seniors and try to line them up with our technology organization. We hire well into the hundreds of folks from schools a year. And that we come on campus, we do a lot of recruiting. There's a lot of information on the site if you go check it out. If you are not ready to graduate, we also have a internship program that is going to be available this year to rising seniors and rising juniors. And then for folks that are even more junior than that in their career, we have a yearly summit that we throw that's a little competitive. Actually, Trent's company helped us with this, MindSumo, where we put a challenge out to as many college students as we can find. And the top, we haven't figured out the numbers yet, but the top contestants of that challenge are invited to come join us for a week, where we spend a lot of time teaching different coding technologies, having leaders come out and talk to folks, and then we kind of try to throw some fun stuff in, like a 2-day hackathon, because no one likes sleep. So there's going to be a lot coming down the pipe this year. I think there's an opportunity pretty much anywhere you fall in the college spectrum.
Isn't that the +6 one looks really good there? It's a labs question, and I think I can generically answer that one. But Capital One, the labs, along with other like digital, we do work with outside companies. So I guess that's as far as I can probably go with that.
But the majority of it's for our benefit. However, we have started contributing to open source in Capital One. And so there's a lot of times where the tools on the market are fine, but really like the real innovative path is the open source project. So we actually are starting, A, contribute to open source, but B, are starting to investigate like what is the right major project for Capital One to get involved with as well. So that, I guess, by nature of open source, it wouldn't just be for us, it would be for a community and make a community stronger, right?
Yeah. And we do work with software with other companies too.
Cool, good question. What kinds of projects were these interns working on? Not sure I'm allowed to say. There's some that are super secret, and you can't see it. I'm at my house, and corporate communications is right there with the taser gun. So I got to be a little secretive. No, just kidding. No, it ran the gambit. So we had, I think, about 50 technology interns that came in this year, and they worked on a lot of various technologies. Like if you think about it, as vast as our company is, they're all over the place. So we had folks that were doing, as you heard from Ben, test-driven development is actually becoming more and more of a priority here. We had a lot of people that were doing a lot of work in that. There's actually a couple cases that were written into that. A lot of scripting. There's a lot of DevOps work done. There's a lot of fun projects too. We're constantly trying to reinvent our web presence and our mobile applications. A lot of folks got to be hands-on in the teams like Ben's that actually make those changes happening. Like it wasn't. We don't treat interns as hey, you're the intern, go do this, go do that. We try to make sure that they, for the 3 months they're here, get something super meaningful, get put under a great mentor, and actually do get to show that they contributed back to the company. That's how we kind of decide what we want our relationship to be with them, moving forward. But it runs the gambit. Like I think, I always try to think about what roles we have in the company available for young people, and there's obviously software engineering, front end, middleware, backend, anything you could really think of. We have a lot of data engineering roles, data scientist roles. We're a big Hadoop shop. We're investing heavily in the cloud. We have massive, I don't want to call it complicated. I want to call it a simplistic but massive network. We have, a huge focus on cybersecurity. And then I think, that even then there's our very technical project management staff as well. And our interns really fell through all of those different rungs of projects.
I think this next question is a pretty good one too.
What's the environment like?
Yeah. I could talk about starting out too. We could even maybe just walk out and show the office area around here.
That might get a little better. There's no stabilizer on this camera.
But yeah, Capital One is definitely very flexible. One of the things, and actually to the point where I was kind of surprised when I started, all of my jobs before coming here were like 8-hour work days, so they're really 9-hour work days because they didn't want you to like take an hour for lunch sort of thing. And when I came here, that was like everyone was pretty much 9 to 5. If you have to go to an appointment, it's totally okay if you work from home. It's kind of team by team basis and sort of depends on like if your application's about to go into production, you're probably going to be in the office. But if you're more like starting out and kind of going through the design phase of things, you might like work from home Fridays or work from home different times too, but very, very cool. And I think the other thing I wanted to mention, so if you do start as a full-time hire, they'll put you on a project, but you definitely get that like warm-up period. So Jason mentioned the boot camps, we'll probably do more of those, so you might be out in trainings on whatever technologies you're using, and then through that kind of ramp up on your team.
Yeah, and there's on top of that, some pieces that I really enjoyed is there's a lot of external groups that you can be involved with, and that goes all the way from community service to software development in terms of meetups. And so, you can easily fill your evenings and parts of your days with those, no problem. So it's just about getting that good balance of like, this is the amount of work that I need to produce, and then this is the amount of involvement that I need to have with the community or me in particular, the technology groups around the organization.
We do have our yearly like innovation challenge, which is going on now, so I'm trying to win that. But once a year, you get to like submit ideas, and it could be kind of on whatever you want. So this year we're kind of focused on, well, I don't know if I can say, but so I was like ready for it and waited, and I submitted. I was on 4 team ideas when we submitted, and 2 of them were picked to move on, which was really exciting. But basically, you can come up with whatever sort of project you're interested in and kind of pick how you want to develop that, which is awesome. So there's a lot of chance to kind of work on these side projects that you might find interesting if you have the time.
Yeah, I did that last year, and we ended up in the final round. It was fun. It would make like no confusion. It was a lot of work, but it was really fun. And the engagement from the higher level executives really, and by higher level I mean like the top ones, it really encourages you to make something very fruitful and meaningful.
Ben didn't join this year because he knows I'm going to win.
Wow, and so you folks that are on the Q&A, if you want to decline their attempt at not showing you the space, you guys feel free to blow up the Q&A with give us a tour, give us the tour. But I think we got some really good questions that are rolling in. Either one of you guys want to take a stab at your favorite part of working at Capital One?
Oh yeah, I can definitely do that. It's just so much. It sounds bad, like free food around all the time. That should be like a big part of it, but I have to say it's a fantastic aspect. That into the biggest part for me, like that part, that's a perk, I guess you could say. The biggest part for me is working on an app that has about 2.3 million or 2.5 million active users, or 3.5 million active users. That is huge. Sounds like I'm going in and out a little bit.
No, she's making that up.
Okay. That's huge, and that's a really rewarding, because releasing an app to that many people, I don't know how many opportunities or how many companies get that you can work for where you get that chance, and so that's just like it feels like a privilege more than anything else.
Yeah, my favorite part is, so I don't know if any of you are in a similar boat, but like I find credit so confusing. Like I just am always like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like my parents they probably should have given me the walkthrough when I was little, but missed that. So for me, getting to work on apps that will help people better understand what it is that their bank is for and like how to use it. I mean, how to use it in a way that's like totally safe. You're not at risk of like going bankrupt. That was always my big fear. Is pretty cool. So I love to kind of get involved with like interviews around that or apps that could help in that sort of way.
Yeah, I think I feel much the same. I think for me too, it's such a huge organization. I've worked for big companies before, and I'm not going to say the name of any of them because they're massive, massive tech companies that build things that we don't like using. But when you're in a company like that, you're kind of pigeonholed into like, hey, I'm the team that builds this one feature of this one thing, and that's your impact to the organization. Here, I feel like I actually have the ability to affect the entire organization, like if, when and if I need to. There's other great things about Cap One too. I mean, they treat their people like gold. I think their community involvement also is really, really important reason for me to kind of love the company a bit. They're all about doing the right thing. Like there's constantly volunteerism going on. There's constant partnerships with local charities and such. I mean, that and the technology it's kind of fun to work with.
Yeah, it's definitely in the IT world. It's very easy to jump around, but this is like definitely the first company I've been with that I feel like it's become more of an extension of myself, and so very enjoyable.
Awesome. All right. Any advice for a rising BA in IT software development?
Apply.
Apply, yeah. For me, a lot of things I look at in terms of like, was it computer science, IT, and invest is outward experience. I look on the social platforms a lot, like GitHub, Stack Overflow, blogs. It's it shows a recognizable amount of effort, and it definitely it's not like you would think doing a blog would be fairly simple, but coming up with a topic that you probably feel is meaningful to you and is necessarily reflective of your skill set and writing on a regular cadence ends up being quite a bit of work. And so I think that's very respectable, and along with Stack Overflow and GitHub, it's just when you're writing code and being able to see that it's not easy.
Yeah, along the same lines, go to hackathons. That's my favorite thing, and it's a great way to kind of show what you can build or learn what you need to figure out to build more apps, things like that. Those are my favorite.
You get real world experience.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And my code's terrible, so the last thing someone that's in a software development career path wants to get advice from is me when it comes to what to do with your software career. But I can talk to you about DevOps if you have questions about that. Great. What do you guys think is the biggest challenge about working here?
Biggest challenge, that's interesting. I don't know. Like challenge is maybe a precarious word, right? I don't know if it has it has a unique tone to it. I don't know if it's a challenge, but for me, I view it as intriguing, and that's just like, oh boy, this sounds cliche, like the day-to-day problem solving, right? But it's true. And when you're moving so quickly, and you're really trying to stay on top of the latest technology, you're never bored. So like you're presented day in and day out with challenges, and there's always homework.
Yeah.
I think my biggest challenge was, and I'm going to be honest here, so that someone tell me to shut up if I'm too honest.
Yeah.
But
shut up.
when I started, I was very blown away by some of the processes that were out there. Like, 'cause I'd be trying to get a system done, but I'd have to like run through XYZ to do something. And I think for me, it took kind of understanding why those processes were in place. And sometimes there were very legitimate reasons, like regulation in the financial industry. You just kind of have to do it. And other times you were like, actually, I think we could find a better way to work on that. And it took me a bit to kind of like realize like you can suggest those ideas and people are super receptive to it. I mean, almost definitely the leadership and really like the whole entire technology community is super excited to kind of like think about how should we do work, think about how can we best get our applications to customers. So it's been a big challenge, but as long as you can kind of like think about it and think outside the box, you can probably find some cool things to work.
Yeah, finance and healthcare is kind of riddled with all these little government suggestions. They're pretty powerful laws, actually, about how we do business. And one of the things that has always bothered me about technologists in my field or the healthcare field is they can use them as an excuse, right? People can say, oh, I can't do this because Sarbanes-Oxley is this big important thing, or in the healthcare they have, is it HEPA? And those are, they shouldn't be blockers, and they should never, like anytime you find someone or you find yourself in a career where someone's saying, I can't do something because of this other big thing I don't understand, like that's not the right person to hang out with. There's always a way to overcome, you know, be it technology, be it process. And I think that, you know, me being more of a bureaucratic role than you guys who have funner jobs, that's something that I've always had, you know, fun, you know, overcoming.
No, yeah, I agree with that completely. And another thing that I've seen a lot, and that's been really encouraged around here, is just don't say why you can't do it. Come back and tell us how we can work with it to improve the process, and that's. And that really is brought to the forefront a lot when like when fresh blood comes into the picture, and they're like, well, why are we doing it this way, right? And it causes everyone to step back and really say, why are we doing it this way?
Yeah, and I think that kind of relates to the pitfalls question, because that's something that I've seen where people will like notice that a system doesn't work the way that it could or should or they're used to, but instead of bringing it up, they'll kind of just like sit down and be like, oh, well, I can't help this, I can't really do anything to change that. And I think that's something that people kind of underestimate, how much impact you can have, even especially as a new hire, because you're coming in with a totally fresh set of eyes, which is really cool.
Yeah, and taking on that pitfall question, which we can, that +2 one, it's funny because we just actually, again, the interns just are finishing up now, and they're presenting all these things that they learned. One of the biggest pitfalls that I think a lot of them admitted to early that they were all able to overcome was not asking for help. I think college teaches, and it's not right or wrong, college kind of teaches this individualism, right? You learn how to do projects on your own, or you're in a group project that is graded as the group, but in some cases, interaction is almost like frowned upon, right? You can't just say, hey, here's homework, me and my buddy are going to write this program. There's some view of, well, that's not your work then. When you come to corporate, here's this giant culture shock of that's the exact opposite. There's no such thing as plagiarism amongst peers in a corporation. Like it really is, we are here to build something, and if you don't know how to do something, or you find yourself kicking, just treading water a bit, the best thing to do is just find someone who has been there, or a peer, a mentor, and then just get them to help you. Not do your work, but help you. And I think that's, out of most of the college students I see, that's the one thing that takes a little bit of reprogramming in their brain before they become comfortable with.
Hey, I'm going to go back on what I said, and everybody may be angry about this or bouncing around, but I would really like to show the space. We've got some cool new toys also that I would like to brag about. Jason, do you know how many people we have in the technical department? Like,
I don't exactly, and I'm afraid to give a number out because if I do, I'll be wrong. But it's certainly in the thousands. We have a massive tech community here.
Go towards the Ferrari seats. Ferrari seats? Yeah, they're in the kitchen.
So guys, you're getting a live tour of our Northern Virginia-based IT headquarters.
This is actually, you should explain you here often.
Yeah, this is our dashboard. I don't know how much we can show per se.
Oh, that's true. We have this really cool plant wall. It's a part of this floor. It's actually live, and today they had somebody coming in like trimming it. It's wild. Up here. We're doing this like live video thing with a bunch of candidates. I just want to say hi.
Hi, Tom.
The crazy. Yeah, this is kind of our space. It's pretty open. There's some scooters. People actually do meetings on scooters and just drive in circles for half an hour, which I don't know how they don't follow. That's kind of our space that we have.
Yeah, I want to show the,
Food.
well, yeah.
Oh, it's the game.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at air hockey, so if you guys ever work here, I could beat you.
Okay, these are our latest to play Rosa Motorsports. Okay, that's the tour. We'll go sit down if you guys aren't sufficiently dizzy by now.
Thanks, guys. Well, hey, I know we're over time now, but let me close out a little bit with talking again about some of the opportunities we have at the company for everyone. And I think, Trent, I know maybe you're on mute or whatnot, but if there's any way we can get some of our email information out to the crowd later, that'd be absolutely beautiful, so we can keep this this QA conversation going throughout the week.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Awesome, awesome. And so yeah, that's us in a nutshell. I'm sorry, really good questions today. This was a really fun experience. This is our first big hangout thing that we've done. I think a lot of us go out and speak on campus quite often. It's really cool using this technology that we all play with day in and day out to actually do something like this. We need to find one where I can see everybody staring back at us. That's a good ask for next time. But yeah, so as I explained before, guys, there's about 3 different ways to get in to Capital One if you're coming in from the college perspective. There's going to be a summit coming up this summer. There's our summer internship programs, which are available to rising juniors and seniors, as well as our TDP hire program, which is where Kaylin comes from. Kaylin, the really, evidently our competitive developer over there, who's better than everyone at air hockey. Great. And then I think afterwards, if we have everybody's information, we can go ahead and send out a link to just the campus recruiting site, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Excellent.
Where we're located?
Everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
Everywhere. That's a very fair statement. For campus, we generally staff people into either Northern Virginia, Chicago, Plano, Texas, which is right outside of Dallas, Richmond, Virginia, or we're now starting a lot of expansion in San Francisco as well. I think that's, oops, I left out Delaware. And then also we have a Delaware office as well. And I think that's it for this coming. I can't make promises on any of this, right? I never know where we're going to be seating people. But those are the biggest locations that we have for technology development. Thanks for keeping me honest, guys, with good questions. Well, cool. Everyone, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to spend your afternoon with us. Kaylin, Ben, thank you guys so much. Glad to have you guys. Please visit that campus career site if you guys want to learn more about us. And Trent and MindSumo, thank you guys so much for putting this on. This is actually really, really fun. We need to do this more often.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. This was fantastic.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Take care.